Every day, women meet and overcome the challenges of daily life, providing for their family, educating and caring for those close to them, dealing with health concerns. Domestic violence and discrimination are also part of that scene. These women and their struggles don't always make the headlines, but sometimes we get a glimpse into their triumphs and how they succeed, into their stories serving as inspiration to many, many others. Michelle de Isla, who I've just said hello to, is mayor of Topeka, Kansas. She joins us now to share her story. Michelle, it's great to see you. Today was really very, very important to me, but hopefully to our viewers, because we are marking 100 years since the 19th Amendment, giving women the right to vote. But it's really a placeholder for all sorts of other rights that we're talking about. And how do you fix indignities? How do you, remove stigma? How do you kind of move along? And I want people to know what an amazing thing you're doing in Topeka, Kansas, as mayor. But you overcame a lot.
I did, indeed. And I've always credited the people that have walked into my life and supported me with my success. I often joke that my life is absolutely not easy. I have had everything from homelessness to being very ill to being a survivor of domestic violence and other things. But I think that those are the things in the end, because of the compassion and the love of other people in my life, that have helped me have a level of empathy. I love when you ask the question of empathy, because it comes from a place of understanding that there's challenges, but with the right opportunities, we can all rise. I am not anything special. I am just a product of the people that came into my life and opened up doors. And now I'm excited that I'm in a position in which I can help others find the same opportunities and succeed.
We have a lot of, women and others that are going to be looking at this show right now, but also in the future. What are some of the bits of advice you would give to people who are struggling with their circumstances, but like so many people I've talked to today, have an itch for public service?
What I would tell every one of you is, if you don't like what you're seeing, get involved. There is hope. Tomorrow is not going to be the same as today. And the big difference is whatever you choose to do. I know that things look very stark and very dark right now if you're going through some of these challenges, but the only way that we're going to be able to overcome them is to give people like us a voice. And you can't do that without either getting engaged yourself, either serving on boards, either running for office, or supporting somebody that's running for office that has your values, that believes in what you do, and that it does it in such a fashion that it uplifts not just yourself and your story, but others, and that it creates space for everybody to be able to participate. So I know that we're coming from an evening that was extremely difficult for our country to watch. I want to tell all of you who are watching this right now, don't despair. More than likely, by the time that you see this, if you catch this a few months from now, our story is going to be very different. But in order for that to happen, you need to be a part of it.
Mayor, I know that you are moving or planning to move from your role now as mayor of Topeka, Kansas. And we've had a couple. We had Sharice Davids on earlier, also a representative from the state of Kansas. So Kansas, and I was born in Kansas. So Kansas is playing big today, folks. But I think that one of the interesting things, you're running for Congress now. What do you hope to bring to Congress? What's going to, I'm going to say this in an unfriendly way. How will you differentiate yourself and what you want to do in a crowded marketplace?
I think that the big difference between me and most anybody that's running right now is the life experiences that I hold. I didn't choose to have those life experiences. I might have walked into some circumstances, but I can tell you that right now, the number one thing in the minds of Americans is their health care. And I can tell you that as a person who survived cancer and a chronic condition, that I've had a friend that just had a heart attack, okay? And I'll give you the example. I sat in the hospital with this individual, and as soon as the procedure was done that found that they had a 90% blockage in their heart, the first question that I got was, oh my God, how much is this going to cost? And I understand that. Whereas many people may be saying, oh man, don't worry about it, it's all going to be okay. I know the anxiety that Americans are feeling, and how you start wondering how you're going to forgo things that are important in your life in order for you to take care of this acute situation that could have taken your life. That is not life. This is not what the richest country in the world should be about. The other thing that sets me apart is the fact that I understand what it is to be a single parent and have to work 6 times as hard in order for me to be able to provide for my children, which is the American story. Somebody was talking about families having to work more than one job. Before I decided to run for Congress, I had not only my job as mayor, but I had a full-time job in order for me to provide for my children because I am the sole provider. And even though I was very fortunate at the point that before I decided to run for office for Congress, that I had a good job, that was not always the story. There was always more than one job in my life. Americans should not have to do this. And then we wonder the condition of our children's well-being. I'm coming from a perspective of understanding and from empathy that many people may not have. And I'm happy that a lot of people don't have that. But there's many more Americans that do, and they deserve somebody in Congress that understands that and that will advocate with them with dignity.
Michelle, thank you. One of the things that I felt very committed to in today's program is that we didn't do what a lot of other franchises have done and said, let's have all the power women. Let's have all the, the folks that have succeeded. They're out there and that's there. But, in part, it's the question about the power of the unrecognized woman out there, or the woman who's struggling but still goes out to vote, or the woman who, may run, to do something in the Parent Teachers Association while she has 3 jobs. I mean, there's another dimension out there that I thought needed highlighting. People who were managing disabilities, as we had on earlier, or Lily Ledbetter and what she had to fight for with fair pay. And so I guess one other dimension we haven't talked as much about today that I would have is mental health. And so when you look at the stress, you look at women, you look at the mental health equation, it's not an often discussed dimension of this. I know it's a huge priority for you.
It is. I am a parent of a child that has severe persistent mental illness. And I tell you that right now we have talked a lot about the impact of COVID on the economy. And we talk about COVID as a health and economic issue. The part of the health paradigm that we're not discussing is the mental health component. There's so many trauma that came from this virus that now we're having to deal with. Like right now we have bundles of teachers. And even though there's male teachers, I can tell you that the ladies that I know that are educating are exhausted. They're tired. They're trying to figure out how they're going to come up another day, trying to do not only their job, but in a different way, coming up with new plans. There's so many families that are struggling right now because either they've lost their jobs, because they're not able to go out, their families are immune compromised. The numbers of individuals that know that they had COVID and they didn't know it, and they made somebody sick in their family, and that family member died. There is so much trauma right now. And to me, mental health, we cannot have a conversation about healthcare without addressing mental health. It is critical in order for us to have a successful economy and individuals that are really able to participate in our country as citizens to ensure that their health is taken care of holistically. That includes both their physical health and also their emotional health. And it's extremely important that we're able to have that conversation at every level.
Michelle, just finally, let me ask you, I'm trying to figure out how to frame this, make this a kind of a zinger. There are a lot of guys out there, I know them inside firms, that are worried that, in this age of women, and we just had Tina Chen on with time, they feel threatened. They feel like there's a zero-sum game going on between their role in a firm or company or organization and the ascension of other highly talented and capable women. I'd like to hear from you what men who want to be allies can do to help in that situation, and what the message should be to those people who feel threatened by women.
So I think that Ruth Bader Ginsburg said it so well, and she took this quote from somebody else when she said that the only thing that she was asking of her brethren was that they remove their foot off their necks, right? And I think that what she was trying to express with that is that we are not asking for anything special. We are not asking for special opportunities. We're just asking for opportunity. We're asking that when we have a seat at the table, that we all have equal worth. I cannot tell you how many times I have been in a meeting as mayor of a major city, and I say something and it gets passed over, and then next thing you know, there happens to be a gentleman that makes the same exact remark. And somebody turns and goes, oh, that's fabulous. I had not thought about that. And I just sit there and go, did that just happen? And there's so many times that as women, we deal with this and we're sitting there going, no, maybe I'm overreacting. So to our fellow men that are allies, what I ask you is, there is a young woman or a seasoned veteran in your workplace that has a lot of talent and that that she has talent, but she doesn't have a champion. And I'm not talking about a mentor. They're two very different things. You could be that champion. If you have access to the ear of the individuals that have ability, open up that door and champion that person, not because they're a woman, but because you know that they have talent. When you see something that is happening in the workplace that is not adequate, speak up. Because you have the opportunity to speak to those who are in leadership positions and create space. And then very importantly, when you have somebody talented that you're inviting to have a seat at the table and they're raising their voice and they're not being listened, amplify that voice. It is so important for us to be able to do so because I tell you what, we are loyal. You do that, we're going to do the same thing right back. There's space for all of us. It's not about women taking over. It's about all of us having equal opportunity. And we know that there are still biases out there. You can be a champion somebody. Champion two, it'll make you feel good.
What I'll tell my audience right now, who's been with us all day, is that I really, really wanted them to hear your message, and I doggedly pursued you, and you are trying to run for new office in just a few weeks. So thank you so much, Mayor de la Isla, for making time today on this important subject. Really appreciate your insights. Thank you.
Thank you.